There are different tiers among policemen. I'll cover three basic ones. We have what's called the meat eaters. And the meat eaters, they can pretty much do whatever they want. They're called princes of the city, for lack of a better term. And they're good earners. They have a lot of support, and they can make it happen. And your detectives elevate from meat eaters. Then you have what's called the grass eaters. Those guys never make detective, and they sort of go along to get along, but they're not really that. They don't have a lot of power. They don't have a lot of support. And then the third class you would call exit wounds or serpicos. Serpico is not a compliment, but anyway, there are good cops and there are bad cops, and if you want to learn about bad cops. Well, the police academy I went to actually taught about bad cops and stressed why you shouldn't be one and why they're terrible. But anyway, these frauditors, when they do confront the police, they're always dealing with grass eaters or serpicos or something like that. They're never dealing with meat eaters. If they were, they'd be in jail right away. And it would stick. But anyway, he's doing some podunk PD department, and they don't seem to have those tiers too much, and they don't have a lot of power and influence in these local podunk communities where you don't have. I mean, some departments have as little as 5 people. There was one place I knew in Georgia. I think it was called Lumber City, Georgia, although it wasn't a city, and I think they only had 5 PD.
Sure. Because as I'm sure you're aware, there's a huge divide between law enforcement and the citizenry these days. Oh, yeah. And I think that I believe that, like as in anything in life, there's good and bad. Sure. So there are some police officers who aren't doing you any favors, aren't doing us any favors. And I think those guys are the ones that are exacerbating or fostering that divide. Yeah. And I always like to say to police officers when I have a chance to talk to them that you guys are in a very unique position to police that. Yeah, absolutely. And we hope that you do, because I understand, and a rhetorical question, but rhetorical statement, but I know it's difficult to, nobody wants to arrest another cop. Nobody wants.
Okay, that's a bunch of bullshit. Yeah, cops arrest each other all the time. They fabricate stuff all the time. A cop never wants to arrest another cop. Bullshit.
To get involved in that or file complaints against another cop, but the one thing that I always like to say to police officers is, and I'll ask you this question, what do you think a good police officer's worst enemy is in this world?
In this world?
Yep.
Probably their own emotions, I would assume.
A bad cop.
Okay, another indication that Jason Gutter Trash never went to a police academy, nor was he a cop. Bad cop, that's more of a joke or a cliche than anything else. And that's a punchline, It's not a code or anything like that. Yeah, what's the worst thing for a good cop? A bad cop. No, boy, if they got rid of bad cops, I mean, you'd be surprised how few people we'd have left on the force. There's a lot of bad cops, I hate to say, okay? I mean, as a matter of fact, I look at the meat eaters as being bad cops, even the grass eaters.
No, seriously, think about it. Bad police officers and bad policing are getting the good guys hurt all over this country every day, and I think it's a travesty. It's a shame.
I know a lot of good police officers, and I do know, unfortunately, ones that aren't so good. So,
well, get them in handcuffs and get rid of them because they're not doing you any. They're not doing you any favors either.
Okay, I'm not going to name the department or anything like that, but a lot of times when a drug deal would go down, or you're going to bust some drug dealers, one of the first things you got to consider is this drug dealer related to any of your supervisors? Are any of your supervisors or higher-ups paid off? I mean, I know it sounds cynical, but that's a question you start asking when you start going after these drug dealers. After a while, you know who is and who isn't. But I'm not naming any departments, okay?
Really, no, those guys, because people get angry with those guys, and then they come take it out on you.
Absolutely.
Just like there are some wonderful auditors out there doing a great job on YouTube, and then
no, I don't think so. And first of all, he's not an auditor. Calling himself an auditor is false advertising.
there's some guys that are doing a terrible thing, giving us all a bad name.
Right.
So, it's the same kind of thing with...
There's always the opposite of the good, right?
Exactly,
Like
yeah.
what you guys are talking about, so.
Right. So we just ask you, and I know, you don't want to, obviously you don't want to ruin anybody's career. These might be guys that you went to high school with. They might be friends for years. I don't know. But what we ask you to do is if you see somebody doing something that's violating their oath,
Yeah.
and they're not standing up to the standard of law that they're supposed to be at, we ask you to take them aside, talk to them, and get it to stop. And if that doesn't, do...
Okay, you take a lot of oaths as a policeman. You incur a lot of obligations. And it's not just policemen that have to do this. If you join a fraternity, you take a lot of oaths to that fraternity. And the question is, what do you do when you're taking a lot of oaths to many affiliations and they contradict each other? Well, you can't abide by them all at the same time.
Do whatever you have to do to prevent that, because that's doing a solid thing for the citizenry, and it's also helping out other good police officers that don't need the rogue ones out there causing trouble for you.
Yeah, and that's most policies too for police departments, where if we see an egregious act by another officer, that we at least talk to them and see if we can get that under control.
Okay, that's a new one on me. I never heard that one before. If you notice a cop breaking the law or doing something that they shouldn't be doing, you're supposed to talk to them about it? Okay. Okay. Sorry, new to me.
We'll notify supervisor, that kind of thing, but in a friendly manner, if you will.
Well, you always have to start off friendly, and so, the easiest path is the way to go. Have you ever arrested another police officer?
Close, but no.
No.
Okay, this guy goes on and on and on and on, talking as if he knew what he was talking about. The fact is, police encounters are not that good. His police encounters are obviously with very weak cops. But if you're ever up against a detective or something like that, or could be, here's the thing. If you are questioned by a policeman, you do have to identify yourself. You have to give up ID if it's state issued. For example, a driver's license is property of the state, not your property. You do have to show ID. You do have to identify yourself. And you have to state your current business. Like, what are you doing here? Well, officer, I locked my keys in the car and I'm trying to get into my own car, or something like that. And that's all you have to state for them legally. Do not talk to the police about your past, and don't speculate on your future. Okay? Let me show you another one here.
He said, "And how long had you known the guys you were delivering to?" Kind of confused, I responded, "I didn't. I couldn't see that my answer disappointed them, but it was the truth. There were two detectives, the same two who had come for me in the store, and one kept insisting on the facts as they saw them, and the other kept trying to bend things in my favor." Okay, at this point, you have just admitted that you were there, that you delivered to these guys. You don't even know who these guys are.
Okay, you can get into a lot of trouble answering questions for the police. I'm not saying you ought to do what these frauditors do. I'm amazed that Gutterman is not in jail. I mean, how he keeps drawing these grass eaters is beyond me. But when you do make a call against a frauditor, don't make it a weak call so they send a grass eater. Make it a strong call so they send over a meat eater. But anyway, talking to a cop is not a good idea. Okay?
Since you're new to this, let me explain it to you. They've invited you on a fishing trip.
What's that? A fishing trip?
Those cops have no interest in helping you get your cards back. You're obviously under suspicion.
There was nothing there for them to see.
I refer you to our previous conversation and this blinking neon sign of a vehicle that says drug dealer. They suspect you. They will get you in there, pretend to be your friend, lull you into a false sense of security, and then they will sweat you. And you will break.
I disagree.
Okay, if you ever get an invitation to go to the police station and talk to the police, do not go. Call a lawyer and then ask the lawyer, hey, what should I do? If the lawyer says, well, go ahead and talk to him, you'd be surprised how many lawyers have actually said that. Get a new lawyer. Ask the lawyer a hypothetical question when you hire him, and they should give you a free consultation when you're hiring a lawyer. Ask them, Hey, the police invited me to come to the station and talk to him just for a chit chat. What should I do? The lawyer should tell you, do not go, period. That's the lawyer you want. The lawyer that says, well, I guess it's okay. You don't want that lawyer. And I've actually met bad lawyers, too. I've also met bad cops, and I don't think I've met any good frauditors. But anyway, I just wanted to add this for your own edification. But if you ever do have a problem, if the police do want to talk to you, say no. You do have to give your name and what you're doing in the present, but don't go any further than that. Do exercise your right to remain silent. And when you're getting a lawyer, don't assume that the lawyer you got is a good one. Typically speaking, if a guy is a public defender, he's no good. Though I did meet one good one who left 6 months later to go work for a law firm. But anyway, and law firms are not necessarily the answer either. But basically, a good litmus test is to ask the lawyer what you should do if the cops want to talk to you. All right, this is for your information, and the best to all of you always. I appreciate the subscriptions, and I appreciate the comments.
Not open for debate. You go home now.